Today, we are diving into a really important piece of legislation here in the Philippines, Republic Act 111313. You probably know it better as the Safe Spaces Act. We're going to break down what it covers, what your rights are, and how it's designed to protect you pretty much everywhere, from the street corner to your social media feed.
I think we can all relate to this, right? It's a feeling that so many of us unfortunately know all too well. That comment that just goes a little too far, an unwanted advance, or maybe those persistent messages that just keep coming and totally cross a line. It's a huge issue, and it can make the places where we live our lives feel, well, unsafe.
But what if there were clear, established rules and real consequences to deal with this? Well, that's exactly what the Safe Spaces Act is all about. It's designed to help us reclaim our public, private, and even our digital spaces, and to make them safe for absolutely everyone.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What exactly is this law, and what kind of behavior does it really go after?
You know, the really crucial thing to get about this law is its incredible scope. It isn't just focused on one single environment. It protects you in physical public spaces, it protects you at work, in school, and, so importantly, in the digital world. It's a truly all-encompassing approach to safety.
So the entire law is built around this one core concept, gender-based sexual harassment, or GBSH for short. Now pay close attention to the key phrases here. Unwanted and uninvited, and regardless of motive. What does that mean? It means the focus is totally on the impact on the person who experienced it, not on what the perpetrator intended. If it was unwanted, it's a problem. Simple as that.
Okay, so let's start with the places where we live our daily lives. How does this law protect you when you're just, walking down the street, sitting in a park, or shopping at the mall?
What's so powerful here is just how specific the law gets. It moves way beyond these vague ideas of harassment, and it actually names concrete actions. Things like catcalling, sexist slurs, and even those persistent comments about someone's appearance. Those are now explicitly defined as illegal acts. And that clarity, that's what gives this law its real teeth.
And get this, the responsibility isn't just on individuals. The law actually requires businesses, we're talking restaurants, malls, bars, cinemas, to take an active role in this. They have a legal duty to help prevent harassment by putting up signs, appointing a specific officer to handle it, and having a clear plan to help victims right there on their property. Of course, our spaces today aren't just physical, are they? So much of our lives happen online, and the law totally recognizes this and extends its protection right into the digital world. I mean, look at this list. The law is incredibly up-to-date, tackling the specific ways people are abused online. We're talking about cyberstalking, posting someone's photos without their okay, creating fake profiles to ruin their reputation, and even weaponizing that report button just to silence people. All of these are now punishable offenses.
And the law really backs this up with some serious penalties. Fines for online harassment can go all the way up to 500,000 pesos. That sends a really clear message, right? What happens online has significant real-world consequences.
Okay, let's shift gears now to environments where power imbalances can often make harassment even more complicated: the workplace and our schools.
What's so interesting here is that the law puts almost identical responsibilities on both employers and schools. They are legally required to educate everyone, to provide training, and this is super important, to create an independent committee to handle complaints. It's called a CODI, or Committee on Decorum and Investigation. This makes sure that when complaints are made, they're investigated fairly and without bias. But he doesn't just stop with the people in charge. The Safe Spaces Act also spells out the duties of all of us, as employees, coworkers, and students. It basically writes the idea of being an active bystander into law. It says you have a responsibility to not just avoid harassment yourself, but to actually discourage it in others, to support victims, and to report incidents you see. It really empowers everyone to help build a safer culture.
So, we have all these rules, but what happens when someone actually breaks them? This is where the law really gets its bite. Let's take a look at the penalties. For a first-time, sort of lighter offense like catcalling, the consequence is a fine and, just as importantly, mandatory education. So the goal isn't just punishment, it's also about trying to change mindsets and behaviors through a gender sensitivity seminar.
But, and this is a big but, if that behavior continues, the penalties escalate sharply. For a third offense of that same act, the fine jumps tenfold, and now you're looking at actual jail time. The law makes it very clear it does not tolerate repeat offenders.
And for much more severe acts, like stalking, the penalties are way higher from the get-go, and they escalate to very significant fines and even longer prison sentences. This shows a clear understanding that not all forms of harassment carry the same weight.
Here you can really see that tiered structure in full. The penalties consistently and logically increase with both the severity of the offense and the number of times it's been committed. It's a really systematic approach that's designed to deter harassment at every single level.
After looking at all the rules and all the penalties, this quote really brings us back to the fundamental principle of the law. This isn't just about stopping bad behavior. It's about upholding a core value, the dignity and the human rights of every single person.
So the Safe Spaces Act gives us a really powerful legal framework. It sets the boundaries and it sets the consequences. But that leaves us with one last crucial question to think about. The law gives us the rules, but how do we, as a society, as a community, build the kind of culture of respect that truly makes every single space safe for everyone?